Devils versus Bruins tonight, live from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Your New Jersey Devils looking to snap a 3-game losing streak. It's been painful. It's been ugly. You know, they're not trying. We're trying to avoid injuries. It is what it is. I'm hoping to see a win and have some sort of good feeling heading into the playoffs. Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. Jake Allen and net. As expected, Jake was going to get one of these two starts. So it seems like we will get Markey in goal tomorrow night at the Rock for Fan Appreciation Day. They're also giving out a Markey bobblehead that I will have to get one way or another. But Allen tonight, some other lineup changes. Nason coming back into the lineup after his night off the other night. Mark McLaughlin making his Devils debut. Let me see what else we got here. No Lazar, no Tatar. Yeah, so top line, you got Nason, Hischier, Bratt. Then you got Haula, Mercer, Meier. Third line, Palat, Glass, Tatar. Did I just say no Tatar? I must have missed him. And then Foot, McLaughlin, Bastion. It's tough out here for some of these bottom six guys. No Sprong, no Laser. And I'm curious to see if, you know, some of these guys are looking to leave their impression on Keefe and the coaching staff to potentially get into the playoffs. I'm not really sure what I would expect as of right now for the bottom six. It is going to be interesting. It seemed like Keefe was super high on Sprong. You know, he was even getting power play 2 time. So I thought for sure he would be a guy that would likely be in the bottom six for the playoffs. But at this point, who really knows? Anything could happen. We're finding it out kind of in real time as we go along. Let me just check something else here. Oh, yeah, Cam Squires, a prospect that I've talked about a couple times. He looked very good, you know, at development camp. He looked good in that rookie tournament in Buffalo. He got assigned after his junior season ended to Utica. I'm just trying to see what else here. If there's anything I missed. What's going on, Husky Unchained? Yeah, I thought that was rigatoni, man. They messed me up. I looked at it and I was like, huh? And then the placard said like penny, whatever it was. It was absolutely trash. Believe it or not, I have had some decent pasta offerings in the different lounges at Prudential Center, but typically none of them are red sauce. The red sauces typically do suck, you know, over the years, but there are some different types of sauce pastas that they've had that were pretty decent, believe it or not, but the red sauces suck. And obviously, yes, I don't know if you saw my comment. I obviously know who is in your profile picture there. The lovely Alyssa Milano, a.k.a. Sam, a.k.a. Samantha Maselli, daughter of Tony Danza on Who's the Boss. What a classic show. They don't make wholesome shows like that anymore, guys. They just don't make it. What's going on, Jack? He says, excited to see Mark McLaughlin. Oh, I missed Joseph up here. Sorry, Joseph. At least get some payback in Boston. It'd be nice to see. Would love to see some payback for that drubbing we took the other night on a night that should have been ours to claim victory. That would have given us the first 4-game winning streak since, you know, since Bill Clinton was president, essentially. Now, it really was, 26 months or so, 2 years and a couple months. But they foiled the 4-game winning streak. They foiled us clinching to get into the playoffs. Instead, we clinched. I believe it was the night after when the Rangers lost to the Flyers. And I'm just happy to be in the playoffs, but it would have been a little more, you know, enthusiastic, or it would have been a happier situation to win and get in versus getting in off someone else's loss. But here we are. Brendan plays just left Nashville. I watched that Predators blowout. Super fun arena. I'm now in the mountains in the middle of nowhere with 6,500 feet of elevation and terrifying roads. Oh, boy, you're in the mountains out there, huh? In Tennessee. We'll enjoy that. I'm not much of a mountain climber there, but I do love, what is that, Broadway in Nashville? What a fun time. I've been there a couple times. Amagi says I'll probably be asleep. Oh, you're sleeping through the game, huh? Max, what's going on? I'm on my way to the Garden. Enjoy the game, man. Hopefully they, treat you to an in-person victory. A lot of folks have been witnessing some stinkers, especially at home. The home fans are starved for a win. It seems like forever. But hopefully you see a good one. And, I'd like to see some fisticuffs just to wake the boys up. I'm always rooting for fisticuffs, if I'm being honest, but we haven't seen that in a while either. What's going on, John? Jake the Snake in net on the first half of the back-to-back. Yeah, keeping up with the Devils. I was going to say, why is Allen starting? Back-to-back. Back-to-back. And then Max comes with the LeChance should get in tonight. No. So everyone ran wild. That's why I didn't put out a video about it. And I hate clickbait and rumors and certain ones I'll engage in if it's something substantial or something I think is substantial. But Frank Saravelli reported the other night that he was hearing that LeChance has signed, but the team has not confirmed this. And so Saravelli reported that multiple media outlets ran wild with it. Tons of media outlets were reporting as if, this was a foregone conclusion. And a lot of them even included his tweet. And if you look at the tweet, it said, I am hearing. So it's I don't know who you heard that from, but I feel like if that was indeed, factual, we would have had the team report it. And to my knowledge, I just looked again. I see no confirmation or report or, press memo, whatever, press release, anything from the team regarding LeChance. And so we wait and see. But if he does get signed, I don't think he's going to be, thrown into the playoffs. You never know. I could be wrong, but I just feel like, with a guy like that, is the upside there? Maybe. Is it an immediate impact move? I can't say for sure. It's hard to say. Would I have loved to have given him a look in one of these last few regular season games if it all played out that way? Absolutely. I mean, like I've said before, unfortunately, especially for the bottom six, the bar is fairly low, and it is what it is. But I'm just hoping to see a win tonight. Hopefully the boys kind of get in some sort of groove heading into the playoffs, even though lots of people are just kind of dismissing these games as truly meaningless. It's hard for me to look at it that way. It's just we've lost 3 in a row. Hypothetically, we could go into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. I don't know. What would that put our last win in? Sometime early April, I guess. It's come on. And then you're just going to flip the switch on. I talked about this in a previous video or after the Islander game. But I would like to see a win. Jack, Ace, will the pre and post games to the playoffs be longer than normal? I mean, Jack, my God, no. I mean, how long do you people want these things to be? A lot of people don't really. It seems like obviously the post games are much more popular than the pre games, but I think they're already kind of at their max length. The pre games are typically if it's a 7:00 game, I think normally I've been doing 5 to 6:30 ish. So that's an hour and a half of a pregame. It's kind of long for a pregame. And the post games, there's been how much long? Some of the post games, I guess, have gone anywhere from, an hour and probably after a shitty loss, maybe an hour and a half, upwards of. I think there's some that ended up being 3.5 hours. I mean, how much longer? I can't go any longer. They're as long as they could be. I'm maxed out over here. Yeah, John, scoring a goal would be nice. It's funny you mentioned that, John. The last time we scored a goal was 114 minutes of gameplay ago and counting. We are 6 minutes away from 2 full back-to-back games of scoreless hockey. And as Keith mentioned, this has been an offensively challenged group all season long. It has been frustrating to watch. Obviously, Jack is a prolific goal scorer, not in the lineup with his injury. And goals got to come from somewhere. I was hoping to see Dougie back tonight. He was on the ice for warm-ups before the Islander game, but they did report that he wasn't going to play. But it was nice to see him out there just kind of getting back in the feel of it. But maybe he plays tomorrow against the Wings at the Rock, or maybe he just waits till game 1 of the playoffs. But either way, Dougie will be back, and hopefully, he could help generate some offense, especially on the power play. I've talked about this a lot, but special teams are going to be massive in this Kane series. Absolutely massive. Max, I've never seen a win at TD Garden in 5 years. Please tonight be the night. Man, they've been that bad in Boston recently, huh? Keeping up with the Devils. Scoring more than a goal would be nice. Don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. Scoring more than a goal. Let's start with 1 goal. It's been a very long time. Let's not get greedy. I obviously would love to see an offensive explosion, but 1 goal is a step in the right direction. I'd like to see a barrage of them and maybe some guys who desperately need one. I'd like to see Bratter get on the sheet. Bratter's been kind of quiet as of late. I didn't want to make a big thing about it, but Bratter's been a little cooling off. Go Boro. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. High five for Ace. High five back to you, Go Boro. High five back. Thank you very much. But yeah, Bratter's kind of cooled off. And, a lot of people have been critical of his past playoff performances. this is going to be a big playoff for a lot of guys. Timo's got to come out and start and get it done. All the big guns. Again, big guns got to be big guns. Timo, Nico, Bratter got to do what they can. And then we're going to need some unexpected sources of goals from the depth guys, whether that's, a guy like a Tatar, a Cotter, a Bastion, whoever it may be. We need guys to step up in big moments and get some pucks in the net, because we're obviously not at full juice without Jack. And I'm hoping we could see some goals generated from the defense. Obviously, Dougie is going to be your number one kind of candidate for something like that. But it'd be nice if we saw a random Dylan or, whoever back there, Kovacevic. And then obviously I always expect Luke to be in the mix, a very gifted offensive defenseman. Obviously, Luke could be a big breakout for Luke as well. Very curious to see how Lukey looks in his second career postseason appearance. Yeah, Demidov paid off for Montreal. Yeah, every other team with KHL guys obviously seem to have found a way to get them over and immediately into their lineup. And I think it's the Bell Center still in Montreal was obviously going just completely ham when Demidov scored. I mean, I seen him on the bench, and it was going viral last night. I mean, you all saw it. KHL guy brought in the last couple games of the year heading into the playoffs. What do you know? He provided a spark, an assist, a goal and an assist in his first period in his NHL debut. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and talk about why or how we should have Gritsuk in the lineup. It seems like that obviously is not happening, and it's disappointing, but here we are. Lobsy, so I'm simulating the Devils versus Kane series in NHL 25, and the Devils are winning the series 2-1. Do you really think this is realistic? What, to have a 2-1 lead after 3 games? I mean, again, we're going to be a massive underdog, so it's not I guess what you'd want to call the favored kind of outcome or situation. I'm going to have a bunch of videos coming out before the playoffs, but I will say, as down as a lot of people have been on this team in this past week or so, and obviously throughout the season with the high highs, low lows, roller coaster season, the team is bipolar. And when the good version of the Devils team shows up, you've seen what they could do. Again, I keep talking about the same shit over and over, but going into Florida and beating the Panthers on their home ice in back-to-back games, that means something. Holding the opposition in December in 7 straight games, an NHL record, to 20 shots or less, an NHL record, 7 straight games, holding the opposition 20 shots or less, NHL record. I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. Shutting out the Rangers twice at home in big rivalry games, regardless of the Rangers sucking. Everyone knows rivalry games like that are always tightly contested, always a lot of emotions involved, and it's always usually a game. You don't see too often where one of the teams gets throttled, and the Devils had their number this year for sure. Outscored them by a wide margin and ended up winning the season series 3-0-1 with 2 shutouts at the Rock. So, that's not something that's typically characteristic of quote unquote bad teams. Devils shut out their arch rivals at home twice, beating Columbus in a home and home, but they weren't back to back, but separated by about a week or so. That's when Columbus was right on our ass. Those games were massive. In March, 2 games against Columbus, who was right on our heels. I do believe at the time, I could be mistaken, but I think we only had maybe, I forget if it was 6 or 8 point lead, but they had multiple games in hand at that point. And had the Jackets won even one of those 2 games against the Devils, the whole playoff picture could have looked very different down the stretch. And the Devils showed up in both those games and won. Jake Allen came up huge. If you guys remember that third period where we just were sleeping. I think we were outshot 20-3 or something. Jake Allen stood on his head to preserve the win in the third period in Columbus. And then the Devils came home and beat them as well. Those are 2 massive playoff type games that the Devils showed up for. And then obviously, the home and home of Minnesota. That's another thing I look at and you say, okay, Minnesota's a pretty good team. Granted, they were missing Kaprizov at the time. They may have had another injury or 2, but they're a solid playoff team. They've been pretty damn good all year. And the Devils beat them in a home and home a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago, whenever it was. And so you look at various points of the season and there's stretches of games or specific games that you say, this version of this team is capable of beating anyone in the league. And I can't say that that's not true. I agree with that. But the other side of the coin is the ugly truth is that, while you have the good version of the Devils out there capable of beating anyone in the league, you then have the crappy version of the Devils that is capable to losing to anyone in the league, whether it's a Detroit, an Anaheim, a San Jose, whatever it is. And we've seen that over the past couple seasons as well. And so for me, it all boils down to, which version of this Devils team is going to show up. And throughout the series, I'm sure we'll see flashes of both teams, right? The crappy Devils and the good Devils. Can the good Devils show up more often than the crappy Devils? And I think that's all it comes down to. Max says, Demidov absolutely solid on defense last night. Offensive gift, defensive liability. Oh, sold on defense. He's not playing any D, huh? Amagi, are you going to be at the pregame festivities tomorrow, Ace? I thought about it. Nothing concrete yet, potentially. A lot of it will probably have to, I don't know. I guess tonight we'll play a... Hold on one second. My boy's texting me. Yeah, tonight will affect my mood for sure. Even though, like I've said, after the Islanders loss, I kind of went on not necessarily a tirade, but I just kind of talked about a lot of different things that I had going on in my head. That, in these next two games, tonight and tomorrow, I'm not putting much stock into it no matter what. If we blow them out, I'll be happy. If we get killed, I won't be happy. But in the end, it's not giving us any information, in my opinion, because, we're playing with these wonky lineups. Guys are resting. I forgot to mention, obviously, Paul Cotter suspended for the 2 games, which I thought was a possibility. I talked about that beforehand. But, yeah, luckily he's not missing any playoff time. If he was suspended for any more than the 2 games we had left on the schedule, I would have rioted. But, I just can't put too much stock into these next 2 games either way because, we're kind of doing this walk-through, half-ass kind of thing. And so it all boils down to which version of the team is going to show up and when in the series with the Canes. And we need the good version of the Devils to be out there 90% of the time. John, I was in the Great Smoky Mountains last week. Great weather, side trip to Gatlinburg and Vegas for hillbillies. Great fun. Look at you, John, just living it up out there, huh? Traveling all over the place. Keeping up the Devils says anything on Siegenthaler. I think he's done for the playoffs. We'll find out, but I haven't heard anything new outside of that one time he popped up on the ice briefly, and he wasn't even wearing pads, I think they said. So, from weeks ago, it seemed like him and Dougie were both done for the season. And then all of a sudden Dougie's, lingering around. And the next thing we know, they tell us he's going to be back for the playoffs. So who knows? But I feel like if Siegs was going to be available for the playoffs, he would have at least been on the ice in full pads at some point, like Dougie was a couple weeks ago. But yeah, we shall see. But I'm counting on him being done for the year. Lobsty, I never said it was done. I'm saying they're winning the series 2-1 as of right now. Yeah, that's having a 2-1 lead in the series. I think that is, again, while it's not probable, it's definitely not an impossibility. Anything could happen. This is why they play the games, and especially if the good version of the Devils shows up, and especially if our man Markey's feeling it. If Markey's feeling it, ooh, give me that Markey from the Seattle Kraken game in Seattle. Markey just highlight reel after what a tongue twister. Highlight reel after highlight reel save. My God. Spit it out. If we get anywhere near that level of Markey, look out, man. Look out. And then keeping up the Devils asking about the simulation. Did you take out Jack Hughes and Siegenthaler? Yeah, damn media, Max, right? I was going crazy and I had to reread it a couple times. But, he said he was hearing, and then people ran with it like it's gospel. Nothing from the organization yet. And so I just kind of let it, simmer off in the background there. As soon as we get some sort of definitive press release of any kind, I will certainly, I don't know, do some sort of video probably about it, talking about it. But yeah, as of right now, I feel a little hoodwinked by the media. Metalander, I think the league made an example of Cotter, 2-game suspension for 2 meaningless games. It's definitely, it is funny, right? I was thinking the same thing. If we only had 1 game left, would they still have suspended him 2 games? I would think not. So I do think, Metalander, to your point, that the league was like, okay, we don't want to mess up, a team's playoff roster and screw this guy over individually. So let's just give him the 2 games they have left in the in the regular season. I think that definitely played a factor for sure. Because, it just kind of worked out that way. Keeping up the Devils says, guys, Ace isn't a robot. Yeah, definitely not. Max, smash the like. Thanks, Max. Smash the like for your boy. Keeping up the Devils, how long can he stream? I don't think any longer. I'm shocked I've even gone on for as long as this has gone on. Both length of the individual streams, as well as just my time overall, how long I've been doing it. But yeah, most of the time it's a fun time. Obviously, when the Doomers converge in great numbers, it's, a little bit taxing mentally and physically at times. But, it all goes, it goes with the territory, I suppose. Go Boro, hope you're well. Yeah, I'm as good as we could be. I'm just getting ready, gearing up for this playoff run. And I hope we get a competitive series. And I hope, obviously, we get a win. Carly Ritter, do you think Jake Allen will be back next season? So that's a thing a lot of people have been talking about. I actually brought it up myself a few weeks ago. And I just think, I guess for me, I think in an ideal world, I do believe Tom Fitzgerald would love to bring him back. With that being said, Jake Allen has had some solid numbers on the year. And I think there'll be several teams interested in his services out there, definitely for 1 year. And who knows, he may be able to get a team to bite for 2 years. And I think he'll get decent money. So I do believe, if I had to say it as of right now, unless he took a substantial discount to come back to the Devils, and it would have to be for 1 year, I don't think they're going to have the money available to sign him, honestly, because Luke is getting that massive raise. They're going to have to sign some other guys. I'm sure Glass is on their wish list. And, while some contracts for some bottom six guys are falling off, a lot of them are going to have to be replaced. Some of them maybe entry-level contract type things like, Gritsuk next year. I think you could pretty much pencil in the lineup for, his entry-level contract, I think is, $925K or whatever it is. But I would be astonished if he's not on the opening day lineup. And, whether that's a bottom six or top six role remains to be seen. I would love for him to come in and be an impact top six player. But even if he's not, I do believe he will be a useful piece of the bottom six on an entry-level deal, making, $925 or whatever that is. So not a ton of money. But I just think there's going to be a lot of needs to address with not a lot of money to do it. And I do think with Dawes waiting in the wings, and obviously with the sample size we saw from him this season, he's played great. Again, very small sample size. But even if you look at some of his kind of better games from last season, it seems like the capability is there. And so because of the money and kind of the cap crunch, I do think it would be in the best interest of the team to, unfortunately part ways with Jake Allen and bring Dawes to be the tandem guy with Jacob Markstrom. And I think that would be the responsible thing. Now, obviously, there's a ton of other kind of lingering scenarios and situations where, I could see Fitz trying to bring Allen back still, but I think that would be, contingent on him being able to move out a substantial amount of salary with other guys, whether it's looking at buyouts, trades, whatever it is. But assuming that no substantial salary gets moved on from in one way or another, I just don't see where the money would come for Jake Allen. Again, obviously, unless he's taking some super discount, but I don't think he would. I think at this juncture of his career, to get one more nice payday, it's probably in the cards. So if I had to predict, I would say no to Allen, but there's a lot of kind of moving parts there that could influence it. But gut answer in the moment, no. Go Boros says gut. Feel says no. We run Marky Dawes. Yeah, I think that's, at this juncture would have to be the more likely scenario, but anything could happen. You never know with this team. Luke, they need to build something positive going to the playoffs. Boston and the Wings are going to play with nothing to lose mentality. Devils need to take it to them and get this win. Yeah. Three non-playoff teams in a row kicking our ass on our home ice. Painful. Completely painful. Want to see a win. I'll join the crowd of, it doesn't really matter, but I just don't like stumbling into the playoffs. It's just not something that I like at all. Off them Devils, huge W needed tonight. We don't need it, but I would like to see it. What time is the game Saturday? Assuming 7 p.m. Wait, did I miss something? Did they announce the schedule? I don't think they did, right? I'm not so convinced that the game's Saturday. Brennan plays. My dad is 0-12-6. Oh my God! In his games at Prue Center these past 4 years, that is unreal, Brendan. I mean, that's just like a statistical anomaly. He hasn't seen a win in 18 games. This is insane. We cheered for Nashville last night and they lost 7-3. Whoever we cheer for in person gets cursed. Shall we cheer for the Canes? Absolutely. Absolutely. Serve says, I'm nervous this team gets blown out by the Canes. It better not happen. I hope not. I certainly hope not. Obviously, it is a possibility, but I'm hoping we don't see that at all. That would be just devastating. Steven Angle, Lopsy makes perfect sense because we're going to win the series in 6. Ooh, Devils in 6. I like that. Henny, hey, man, what happened when the tanking Bruins dog walked you? Bruins run New Jersey, obviously. Is this a Bruins fan troll? Probably. Enjoy watching the playoffs, Henny, because your Bruins aren't in it. So, my Bob 36, Mark McLaughlin playing in tonight's game did not realize the Devils got him. Yep, he will be your fourth-line center tonight. And keep it up. The Devils says, hey, man, what happened to the record-breaking Bruins? They're gone. Yeah, their captain's gone. The money they paid to to Swayman is gone. Range Rover Ranger, the Canadiens vs. Cap series has so much potential to be one of the greatest series in recent history. I honestly I could see that being a very good series. I think the playoffs are going to be great this year. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I'm very excited for it. I'm excited for it every year, but for some reason, aside from the Devils being in it, I'm more excited this year. And a lot of that has to do with my man Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators. I think they're going to beat the Leafs. I really do. I really do. Robert, just keeping the faith, AC. That's all we could do. Keep the faith, hope for the best. Jay Snow, what's the good Devils since January? They haven't had 1 month where they played over 500 hockey. Well, Jay Snow, if you were listening, the good Devils, I never said they were the good monthly Devils. It was the good Devils in spurts. 2 shutouts at home against the Rangers, 2 head-to-head matchups against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they're right on our ass. The home and home with the Wild. I 100% agree. They haven't had a good month, obviously, in the calendar year 2025. And quite frankly, throughout the calendar year, they've been brutal. But if you zoom in on small sample sizes, there is a good Devils team. They just do not consistently show up, unfortunately. After first round exit, you'll join us. At least we have a cup in the oh, God. All right, goodbye, Henny. You're done. Jay Snow, what's the good Devils since January? They haven't played over. Yeah, just maybe read that. Yeah, I agree, Husky. Ottawa, Toronto is going to be a very good one. What's going on, Shoots? What up? What up? Got my tickets for Game 4 locked in. Very nice. Hopefully we can win some at home. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping we can win some in Raleigh as well. You're going to need to win at least one in Raleigh to win the series. But, man, Jason says can't afford to pay Allen. I agree. What's going on, Rapid? Monkeypox. Jason, the goalie market is weak this offseason too. Yeah, it's gonna line up for Allen to get a nice payday, and I agree. Keeping up Markstrom Dawes next year makes the most sense. Husky, what's your opinion on Yegorov's final performance? He did not have a great outing. He did make a bunch of big saves though in the first 2 periods, and then the game just kind of got away from Boston in the third. They ended up kind of getting waxed at the end, but he kept them in the game. He definitely made some pretty good saves. I think when it was I forget the score. They were down a goal, I believe, and he made some big saves. So in the end, was it his best game? No. Super young kid, super bright future, obviously. And I do believe he could be the next franchise goaltender for your New Jersey Devils. I was able to see him live back in February, the same weekend as the Four Nations games in Boston. I was able to see BU play Providence. And I saw Big Mike record his first collegiate shutout. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. I think he's going to be a special one. I really do. He seems to have the makings of a very good goalie down the line. I mean, I think he's a very good goalie right now, but in terms of NHL caliber, it's going to take some time. Luke, Allen will command too much, and Dawes will no longer be able to pass through waivers. Allen is gone. I agree. Unless Boozeface trades Dawes or just loses him on waivers, I could. Steven's asking Luke if he's the president of Fitz's fan club. He absolutely is. We're actually co-presidents, Luke and myself. Keeping Up says, yeah, this could be Allen's last start as a Devil. Well, I hate to say it. I hope it is his last start as a Devil, because if it's not, that means that we had some issues in the playoffs, more likely than not. Do not want to see Allen in the playoffs, because that means shit ain't working out. If we see him in the playoffs, something is not right. Jason, Fitz had a huge offseason ahead to make this team a real cup contender. We were super weak down the middle and need a top 6 winger. This is all true. This is all true. Max's doors are open, waiting in the line to get in. Yeah, it's nice to go to that arena where you don't have to take all the shit out of your pockets and all the nonsense. I mean, the process of getting into games at the Rock is kind of annoying. At TD Garden, they have scanners, but you just walk right through. It's a beautiful scenario. Noah William Miller. Yeah, I did see this. You heard that Yegorov was sitting with Marty in the stands today. Yeah, probably a great thrill for Yegorov, even though at this point it's so crazy. When you meet a guy like Marty, it'd be like the equivalent of me meeting like Ken Dryden or something back in the day, because Yegorov is so young. He was a small child like when Marty was Marty. I mean, 14 was 11. Yeah, I mean, wow, he was 10 years old when Marty retired. My God. So, like, he was, yeah, crazy. Like, he doesn't even really know. Like, he's so young that he didn't even see, like, live the legend of Marty. It is pretty wild, and it makes me feel super old. Tasha, just like Keith said, and something I noticed before he talked about, the Devils lack, like, determination. Like, oh, they needed to win the Blue Jackets game. The Rangers won, and they won. Sure, but then the counterpoint to that I would say, which I also mentioned it after that Islander loss in a video where I just kind of had a bunch of random thoughts popping out, was that there was plenty of games that they not necessarily needed to win, but that were massive games that they should have wanted to win desperately after the Four Nations break, and they didn't. So, is everyone going to now try to sell me on this notion that, like, oh, yeah, they could win the games that they want to win or that they feel they need to win? Like, if that's the case, then where were they, during that collapse against Calgary at the Rock? Where were they? Where was this team that could just win the big games when they need to? When we played Ottawa not too long ago at the Rock? I mean, you could just point to a million games where you're like, this was a huge game for them to win, and they did not win. So, it's hard for me to kind of find any sort of comfort or anything in that, in this logic, because there's plenty of games where they kind of needed to win and they didn't. Tasha says, but they lose other games. Tasha, watch them the BU final brutal. Half the team looked asleep. They had some stretches, but in the end, that Western Michigan team was beast. Brandon, Winnipeg tourism bot here. Winnipeg whiteout parties are all sold out. Famous local band BTO Bachman Turner Overdrive supposed to play at Jets Arena Saturday, but NHL wants the Jets game 1 then. Oh, they're trying to move a previously scheduled concert out of there. James says, I want Fitz fired ASAP. This guy's literally the worst GM in history. Can we please dig up the GM who was just buried? You guys are brutal. Jason, no, Western Michigan was the way better team. BU didn't give Yegorov much help. Tasha says, Jason, no, Fitz cannot have a huge offseason. We don't have a ton of money, and we wasted shit on Chalowski and Sprong. Yeah. It's all true. It's all true. I was expecting a bigger deadline. It is what it is. And here we are. We got the troops we're going into battle with, and hopefully Dougie provides a massive spark to this team. Hopefully he provides a massive spark to this team, and it translates on the ice, because we are going to need the A game from everybody, whether it's the big guns, the more depth guys, defensemen. Everybody's going to have to pitch in, because this is going to be a group effort. You're not going to win the series with, a couple guys playing well. You're going to need the majority of your guys to be playing damn good. What's going on, Sherry? I like Dawes better than Allen, too. Bye-bye, Allen. We'll see. I mean, I think Fitz is very, with the way the whole the goaltending thing played out for last year, I think he's a little scarred about goalies in general. And who knows? Maybe Dawes isn't the guy, but I think he's kind of earned the chance, at least right now, for next year. And if he struggles and he's not up to the task. And then I think you start looking at a guy like Poulter or someone else in the organization, Jacob Malik, Brennan. I mean, there's a bunch of guys. Yegorov probably won't be in the mix for at least a couple years, I'd imagine. Luke says, see you gentlemen in the postgame. Take care, Luke. Keeping up the Devils says, chill, guys. Dawes only played 3 games this year, but he showed some signs of brilliance last year as well. And one of the games I'll never forget, obviously, a shining moment for Nico Dawes was that Stadium Series game. That was a great game for him. Great game for Nico Dawes. Tasha says, I mean, the Stars game at Dallas, you could kind of point to. That game lives rent-free in my nightmares. Yeah, there's so many of them. You just look at all the losses after the Four Nations break. That one is tragic. What was it, like 4? Was it under 5 seconds or under 4 seconds? Whatever it was. To be 4 or 5 seconds away from at a minimum a point on the road against a very good Dallas team, to give up a goal the way we did and leave the great state of Texas with absolutely nothing to show for it. That tells me everything I need to know, and it is a very blatantly obvious counterpoint to the people going, well, they win the games they need to. Like, that was a game they needed to win. And they were 5 seconds away from at least getting a point with the potential to get the second point in overtime of the shootout. They left with 0. Gut-wrenching loss. You guys are yelling at the Bruins fan trolling in here. Hilarious. Zach says, put it in Gritsuk. Well, that's not going to happen, Zach, but keep on wishing, my man. I would love to see Gritsuk too, but it's clearly not happening. The Devils can't have nice things. We can't get our Russian imports into the playoffs. That's reserved for teams like the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes. But maybe one day we'll get our guy. One day. Future's bright. The future is bright. Henny says that Lobsy, we're going for draft picks. Continue staying permanent mid as you are. Yeah, it's time for Henny to go. We're going to give Henny the old boot skis. Bye, Henny. Everyone say bye to Henny. Bye, Henny. You're gone. Bye, Henny. Bye, Henny. Henny's gone. Henny's officially gone. Bye, Henny. I got a quick trigger finger these days. You want to come in here? Bop, bop, bop. Right out. Ban. Henny's gone. Henny is gone. Don't waste your energy, guys. I'm like not far to Prudential Center, but it could take anywhere from like 30-ish minutes to longer than that. 30 to 50 minutes, I would say. Cody says, when we go to the offseason, we got to retool and not do a Nashville. Well, we're not going to have the money to even do a Nashville. But if you were a Predators fan this summer on July 1, I'd have to imagine you were all ecstatic. I mean, we would have been ecstatic. Don't even pretend. Obviously, their season went to hell this year, and I still don't know exactly what happened there. I haven't seen enough of enough Predators games to know. But for a team that was in the playoffs last year and then goes out on July 1 and signs Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, and then you just become one of the worst teams in the league, it's kind of crazy stuff. I never saw it coming. Never once. But we don't have the money to make a splash like that. So, I think what you're going to see this summer is just, some bottom 6 tinkering moves. The defense is fairly set. I mean, the defense is set for sure with, what we have now. And I don't think we're going to have the money for a top 6. Now, Fitz might be hoping and wishing that Gritsuk could be that bargain top 6 guy. I'm not crowning him a top 6 player by any stretch. I think some people have done that already. I'm not going to be one of them. Let's see what he looks like in the NHL before we all start applauding and talking about what a great top 6 find this is. But at a minimum, he's going to take up a bottom 6 spot on an entry-level deal. Now, if he could elevate himself and be a top 6 guy on an entry-level deal, that is a phenomenal value and good fortune for the Devils, which, quite frankly, we've been kind of cursed with the injuries over the past couple of years. We could use all of the good fortune we could get. But I think this offseason is going to be primarily, bottom 6 maneuverings. I'm not expecting anything more than that. Brandon says, Ace, if I go downtown a few hours before the Devils game, where in Newark do you recommend? Any parks, shopping malls, restaurants? If you have that much time, are you going to have a car? My number one question to you is, are you going to have a car? If you're not going to have, if you're going to have a car, then I would tell you to just do other things that are somewhat in the area before heading to Newark. There's not really much to do in Newark before a game outside of like the bars that are right there. There's not a lot of, there's really nothing you could like walk to that you're going to want to walk to. Tasha said, got tickets to home game 1, round 1. When do we think it'll be? People's guesses are all over the map here. A pretty credible source has told me, and I didn't want to talk about this too much again. Take this with a grain of salt, but it's someone that a trusted source I have that got his info from a very good source. That, again, this is not in concrete, but tentatively, as of a couple days ago, he told me that the Prudential Center has an event, a concert scheduled. So that kind of threw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. So the source that I have told me from his good source that the matchup was going to be game 1 Monday in Raleigh, game 2 Wednesday in Raleigh, and then game 3 Friday in New Jersey, and game 4 Sunday. Now, whether that comes to fruition or not, I don't know. But again, this is a good source that got his info from a good source, and that was tentatively what they were looking at. So obviously, nothing is final till it's final. But I do think the concert kind of throws a monkey wrench into it, and if you can't move it, that one day of Saturday kind of throws off the whole thing, because now you need to plan accordingly. We'll find out soon enough, though. Keeping Up with the Devil says, you weren't tanking at the beginning of the season. That's called a collapse. I guess that's in reference to the Boston Bruins, to the gentleman that I launched out of here. Brandon says, Windmill Restaurant for hot dogs on the shore is quite popular. Yes, it is. Windmill is definitely very popular, known for their hot dogs. I believe they have several locations along the Jersey Shore. He's gone, Zach. Tasha said it was like 3 seconds after crawling all the way back, and now I've noticed the Devils have killed a ton of time with the puck late in the third. Can't make that mistake again. No, you can't, because that was a very valuable point that could have come back to haunt us. Now, luckily, for the New Jersey Devils, the Metropolitan Division is quite trash. I mean, let's be real. We're only getting in because the Metro is god-awful. And so, and that combined with the fact that we had a great start, if it weren't for both of those things in conjunction with each other, we would be missing the playoffs for a second straight season, and I would be violently ill. Violently ill. Jonathan G says, even for me, a quick trigger. I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. Noah said, how come y'all just ban people who tell the truth? He's just trolling. What is he even in here for? Like, and the reality is, this doesn't have to be like a ultimate democracy, because I could just say, you're gone. I don't need any more aggravation. I get plenty of it as it is, even from within Devils fans. And so for fans of other teams to come in here and try to aggravate me, I'm just not, pop, quick triggers these days. Clark Record says, bye, Henny. I like the new Ace taking out the trash without hesitation. Respect. I just don't have time for it. These people want to aggravate me. You're done. I'll give you a couple stupid comments, and then you get the boot. Lobs said, I think fans of eliminated teams' way to cope is to come to our chat. I don't mind opposing fans if you're not a scumbag. There's plenty of fans of other teams that have came in here and been normal, and it's cool. Come one, come all. But when you come in here just looking to talk shit, like, I just can't do it. You got to go. Tasha said we kind of retooled last summer. Yeah. And it was the start of good maneuverings. But as I've said time and time again, the real signs of a good GM is what you do in season. Off-season maneuvering is not the same as in season. So, great off-season, but the in-season, uninspiring and not enough, in my opinion. Brandon says, Ace, is a hockey and travel expert that I am, the best way to build or rebuild an NHL franchise is to draft and draft some more. The problem is the NHL draft rules need to change, increasing age to 20. Well, obviously, most good teams have built at least a good portion of their roster from draft picks. But you also could do it with savvy trades and free agency. And look no further than, the Vegas Golden Knights, an expansion team. They were very good year one and have been pretty damn good since. So there are ways. Metal Anderson, send the Winnipeg guy to Ruts. That's a great. That would need a car though. So I don't know. But yeah, Brandon, if you're in New Jersey and you have a car, you should definitely go to Ruts Hut. I believe at one point it was voted the #1 hot dog in America. But you should definitely do your due diligence on that and stop by. I actually haven't had Ruts in a while. I used to get it way more frequently when it was open late. And post-COVID, I've talked about this before as well. Post-COVID, a lot of places that used to be open late night just simply are not open late anymore. And I think Ruts Hut now closes at like 8 o'clock. They used to be open till like 2 a.m. I think they close at 8 now. Those are a big 6 hours, especially for the drinking crowd. Zach said, so true. Metro was trash this year. Lucky for the Devils to allow them to squeak in. Yeah. For sure. If it wasn't for that, we would probably be golfing again in mid-April. But we are in the Metro, and we're in the dance. We are in the dance. Let's go. I just want them to beat the Canes so bad. No, this is true. Bruins fans are annoying. Tasha said, ban people who tell the truth, a.k.a. the ultimate hypocrite, SST. He was banned multiple times. He keeps making names. John says, don't feed the trolls. Let's go Devils. Brandon Ace, I was going to tell you last show when I visit NJ, I'm going to visit, is that Frederici's and Freehold? So Freehold's far from me. Let me see if I've heard of this place. Federici's and Freehold. I definitely have heard of it. I'm going to visit Federici's, which is a popular Springsteen stop as family of band member owns it. I heard it's good, but I heard it's like not. I heard some of it is a little hype from what I hear. Yeah, I guess I don't really go to that region of New Jersey all too often. But maybe the next time I'm in that kind of area, I'll try to make it stop. I mean, who doesn't like pizza? There's so much good pizza in New Jersey. I guess I wonder if I'm sure Dave Portnoy, I'm sure has made it to Federici's. I'm curious what he rated it. Jay Snow did retool the back end last offseason. Now the forward group needs a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, on paper, it seemed decent coming into the season. It seemed decent coming into the season, and a lot of the bottom six guys kind of fell off a cliff, unfortunately. But I can't blame Fitzgerald or anyone for the forward group we went into the season with. I will complain about that's or whatever you want to call the current forward group is what we ended with, because again, I hate to keep beating the dead horse, but it seemed like, by at some point in mid-January, late January, it was like, it's just not clicking. It's not happening. It seemed blatantly obvious to me, and I think most people, that the bottom six needed some work, and I would have liked to see something done with, new guys brought in, even at that point, just to try to get something going in the bottom six. But it didn't happen. We got glass and sprung on deadline day. And here we are. We're going to have to make the best of it, and I'm hoping for the best. But there definitely needs to be, again, what I would call the bottom six near gut renovation needs to happen this offseason. Brandon Lewis, Ruts on the list. I'll have a car. Ace, you're welcome to join me. I appreciate that. I have no idea what I'm doing beyond today, but I love me some Ruts. Get the Ripper and get the chili. They don't sell chili dogs. They sell chili in a cup on the side. It's a whole long story, but essentially you need to get the Ripper, which is like their classic hot dog, and then get the cup of chili on the side, and then you got to make it yourself. Chili dog, chili Ripper from Ruts. Beautiful. Jason, no, they have zero depth scoring. Those guys are so important during playoff runs, and we just don't have it. No, completely agree. When you look at any team that goes on a deep run, including Devils teams of the past, there's always depth guys that just make a big play and score a big goal seemingly out of nowhere. It does seem like this team, for the most part, all season has lived and died with the big guns. And when the big guns are quiet and they're kind of stifled, we have a very tough time scoring. And that's, nothing new. That's been the case all season long. Hopefully, somehow, some way, we start getting new sources of offense in this playoff drive. And it's going to have to be a mixture of bottom six guys. And like I said, maybe a couple defensemen score. Luke and Dougie obviously are our biggest hopes from the blue line, but you never know who could get hot. Yeah, maybe, like people said, playoff Palat shows back up. But we're going to need more than just the top guys, because that alone is not going to get it done. Tasha, the defense retool is really good. Got to give Fitzy props. It's been probably the one thing that's been solid all season. Yeah, it's that and goaltending with Markey and Allen have kept us in a playoff spot. Despite sucking for huge stretches of time, we did build up that nice cushion early. And a lot of the games you look at that we lost, in the calendar year 2025, a lot of them were close games. And you always have a chance if you have good defense and goaltending, and the Devils kind of relied on that all season long. That's how we got here. Devs fan Josh says, I love, I think it's Federici's. You guys are, it is. You guys are butchering it. You're putting an extra R after the F. It's just Federici's. John butchered it too. Federici's not that great. Carlos in Old Bridge is better. Yeah, so these are foreign lands to me. I don't get over there too often. But now I might have to go on a pizza tour next time I'm remotely in the area for something. Keeping up with the Devils fix the problems he made and then didn't do it in the season when the most important. I cannot say you're wrong. That sentiment is 100% accurate in my opinion. 100% gone. Nothing happened in the season. Collect records. Federici's a solid, but do yourself a favors and get DeLucas and Raritan. I've heard that's very good too. I got to map this out. I would like to go to, if I'm going to go over there for something. Well, first I'd like some reason to be in the area aside from just the pizza, and then tie that into it. But maybe I'll have to do I'll do a little Central Jersey pizza tour when I find something worthwhile to go there for. There's a Federici's in Belmar. I wonder if this, is it related or is it different? Brandon Portnoy rated Santillo's the one that had a fire extremely high, and Federici's was also high rating. It also has a similar New Haven style crisp crust. I like a crispy crust myself. Jay Snow, it couldn't be more clear that our 5 versus 5 scoring was a nightmare. Completely agree. And reliant on the top guys. We're top-heavy offensive team. Now it's time for some of these other guys to start contributing on the big stage. And it starts in Raleigh. Oh, man, I'm fired up for this. Tasha, best sliced pizza in NJ, Sabatini's, and their General So is fantastic if you're into that. On a pizza? I mean, is it General So or Chow? I've heard people say So. If you're talking about like the Chinese food, I love that. Who doesn't? But I don't know how I feel about it on pizza. That's a very kind of strange combination, in my opinion. Jay Snow, Fitz did nothing for months and did garbage at the deadline. Fitz knows he didn't put us in any position to be a contender going into the playoffs. I would be curious to know if I'd have to believe in his heart of hearts that he agrees with that too, Snow. But I wouldn't be shocked if he does somehow convince himself to believe that the moves he made were like good moves. Who knows? Keep it up. The Devils says we have a bottom six, if that makes sense. Oh, man. Brandon says, I hear Raritan has amazing pizza joints. I'll be going there. Devs fan Josh, just need everyone to get hot. That's all it takes. Yeah, it's a big if, though. It's a big if. The Lone Wolf says Palat sucks, bro. I mean, listen, he's an NHL player. I'm hoping he's had some big playoff moments, and I'm hoping he could replicate it. Cody Skills, I have a feeling that Nason, Cotter, maybe Palat will light the lamp. It would be nice. It would be nice. We need all hands on deck. And I'm hoping for a big playoff series out of Nico, Brader, Timo, and then obviously, again, we're going to need some of these depth guys to start pulling their weight, because as it stands right now for the whole season, essentially, it wasn't there. It just wasn't there, and we suffered as a result. And we're now talking about a team that hasn't scored a goal in 114 minutes and counting. Hopefully that comes to an end as soon as possible tonight. But 114 minutes and counting. Yeah, Cotter suspended till the playoffs. Slurp, just wanted to thank you for your timeless devotion to our favorite team. Kudos to you and everything you do. There's something messed up in there. No, thank you, Slurp. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone coming along for the ride here. Cody Skills, playoffs, not regular season. Yeah, who cares? The regular season's over, essentially. I mean, yeah, we have 2 games, but Nason, Cotter, and Palat. I like those picks, Cody. Jack says, Ace, who's your pick outside of the big 3 forwards to heat up and score a bunch if you had to pick one? If I had to pick one outside of the top 3, it's got to be Nason. It's got to be Nason because he's playing high in the lineup. He's going to – I'm curious, will he see any power play time? Maybe, maybe not. But, will be jacked up to play his former team, getting a lot of minutes, playing with great line mates. I'm going to have to go Nace outside of the big 3. Nason would be my number one kind of potential. Midnight Mike, it's so frustrating the Devils seem to have given up and are content limping into the playoffs. We need fire on this team now. Yeah, we talked about it a lot, Mike. I don't like limping into the playoffs either, but everyone has seemed to they seem to have bought into the notion that there's a magical switch that the Devils could just flip it on when it's like, now we must win because it's the playoffs and the games matter. I hope that switch exists. I really do, and I'm hoping for the best, but I don't like the feeling of going into the playoffs on a slide, and I believe most other fans don't as well, but there is a large portion of the fan base that seems like perfectly content. Like, we have our spot. It doesn't matter. You guys are crazy. But I certainly don't think so, Mike. John, best pizza is Vic's Pizza in Bradley Beach. Old school place. They still call it tomato pie. Bradley Beach, very nice town. Very nice area, that Bradley Beach. Vic's Pizza, huh? Tasha said, yeah, it's not on tomato sauce. It's the Chinese General So on pizza, and actually phenomenal. Oh, man, I might have to try it now. I may have to try it. I don't know that I've met too many pizzas I didn't like. Craig says, time for playoff Pally to start firing. Hopefully. I mean, and I've talked about this months ago. For guys like Palat, where, everyone kind of targets him and talks shit because of his contract and all of that, and, I get it. I get why, you get targeted when you make that kind of money and your production is what it is. But when it comes to the playoffs, if he could, produce at a much higher rate than he did during the regular season, I'm not going to say that it, erases the sting of his cap hit overall, but it certainly makes it a lot more, easy to swallow, if you will. Like, yeah, what does he have right now? Let's see. Yeah, so Pally has 15 goals, 13 assists for 28 points in 76 games played. So you're talking about, let's do the points per game. That one I can't do in my head. I'm good at math. I'm not that good. You're talking about 0.36 points a game, which again, for $6 million, I understand why, he's targeted by so many people that are bloodthirsty. But at, 0.36 points a game, okay, not a good regular season, right? For that kind of money. If somehow, say, we beat the, let's just say hypothetically, we beat the Canes in 7 games and he had 4 points and they were like a big goal and a big assist on a goal. That's points per game wise. That'd be a substantially, much better points per game at 0.57, but in big moments where it really matters. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, that makes him worth the $6 million. That's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is, in a scenario like that where he can make some big plays in big moments and help us win a series or hopefully multiple series, then you start to look at it and you're like, it's not a good contract, but it's not as painful as it would be without that playoff kind of elevated performance, if that makes sense. Jay Snow, my lord, if Fitz thinks he did a good job at the deadline, we're completely screwing as an organization. Collect records at John. I live a minute from there. It's good, but you have to try Lucci and Belmar. It's goddamn ridiculous. Oh, man. All this talk about food's making me hungry now. Making me hungry. Jay Snow, it sucks because we all watch every single game no matter how good or bad the team is. This is probably the worst I felt going to a playoffs. Yeah, I said that the last time. After thinking about it some more, maybe I was overly jacked up in the moment when I said it, but I will say, because of the players we have on this team and what we've seen in very small doses, like I said earlier, with the different games that they won and the fashion in which they won, I do, and call me delusional, it may be delusional, I do think the potential for this team is much higher than that 17-18 team because, watching that, you're like, my God, it took Taylor Hall dragging us here to get here. And it's like, outside of Taylor Hall, no one is capable of doing anything. Whereas with this team, while we've been horribly inconsistent all year, you're like, if the good version can show up more so than the bad version shows up, you could kind of see a scenario. And especially with Markey and net, obviously, that's a huge, game changer from that 17-18 team. But with a guy like Markey and what we've seen out of the good version of this team, that I would not be shocked if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I really wouldn't. Now, a lot of people would be like, you're crazy, and a lot of people would be shocked. But at the top of their game, I think they are a team that showed at least potential to win a couple rounds. I never thought that about that 17-18 team. That literally was a one-man team, and bless Taylor Hall's heart for that season that he had, winning the Hart Trophy as most valuable player in the league, en route to dragging us to the playoffs. But I do think the ceiling is much higher for this current team than the 17-18 team. The 17-18 team was definitely the least happy I was ever to make the playoffs. It was just like, we're here, it's cool. It's going to take a variety of miracles for us to win. Tasha said, Hall is my pick to absolutely heat up and flame the Canes if it happens. Another former Cane with no love for Carolina. Would love to see Hall start getting hot too. There's a lot of guys that have the potential. It's just a matter of who is going to make it happen. Yeah, we have 4 ex-Cane players on the team. Husky, 2 things we know. Fitz only works during the offseason, and the owners won't spend LTIR money. Don't get me started on the LTIR money. I've had this argument with so many people. I just don't understand any differing view. I just can't. There's certain things where I'm like, okay, I could entertain a differing viewpoint or argument, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things that I'm like, okay, I could understand why you think that or, why you feel that way. in the scenario of not spending the LTIR money, it's pretty damn black and white in my opinion. And if you don't feel the way that myself, Husky is mentioning here, and tons of other people, I just don't know, what we're talking about. Having $9 million in LTIR money last year, having $13 million this year, like not spending that money is a very damning scenario. I mean, it really is. It's very telling and it's very damning. I'm not going to dwell on this forever either, but I completely agree, Husky, and it is problematic. Metalander said, I hope they park Nason in front front of the net on PP2. I think they'd be very wise to do so. And I also think, if you maybe have a power play that's not generating early on in the series, that you maybe do some different looks and maybe throw Nason back out there in front of the net for whatever reason. I do think Timo needs to be on power play 1, though, roaming on that right side. I've said that forever. But I do think Nason could be part of an effective power play unit as well. The junkyard dog down in his office, just right there in front of the net, down in the crease, getting down and dirty. Screening goaltenders, tipping pucks, looking for rebounds, whatever it is. Hopefully we can see, Nason kind of returns to the form we saw him at earlier on in the year when he was just on an absolute tear. Sherry, running with the Devils Pizza Tour 2025, Freehold and Belmar. Federici's locations are related. Not sure about the others. Interesting. I've had many good nights in Belmar. I know a lot of you have as well. Oh, Belmar. Oh, DJs. Holy DJs. Tasha, the Canes have been kind of limping too. Yeah, but they had a better season than us. I'm sure some of their fans are a little worried about them sliding into the playoffs too, but I think when you're a team that has, what do they have, like 90, what do they have? Let me see. There is a difference, I think, being a 100-point or so team and kind of flailing at the end versus a team that's going to get in with potentially the lowest points in the entire league. Yeah, they have 99. Zupamaki, the key for the playoffs is the defensive zone breakout. If Luke Kovacevic and Nemitz turn it over, it's going to be a quick 4-0 Canes. Let's go Devs. Yeah, getting out of the zone cleanly is going to be an issue, especially with that aggressive forecheck that the Canes like to bring. They're going to put pressure on the defenseman, and they're going to have to get pucks out. Like you always hear Dano, like, just get it out. Like sometimes the best play is a simple one to just, live to fight for another possession. A lot of times you see guys try to make that extra pass or some nonsense, and it ends up in the back of the net. I am hoping that the message is crystal clear in that series with the Canes. Like, if you have any doubt whatsoever, don't make a risky play. Just get it the hell out of there. Cody Skills, Canes play a system. They stopped our speed before we got in their zone with 2 forwards on the puck. We have to force mistakes, but got to be quick. Quick. The Lone Wolf, who is your most hated Canes player? Mine has to be Aho. Cannot stand the dude. Yeah, probably the same. That was a great little I'm not going to even call it a fight, but him and Jack had that little wrestling match that I was there live for. It was was that game 3 of the series. Jack kind of launched him a little bit in a little wrestling move. Yeah, I'm going to have to go Aho as well. Natchez, before he got dealt, may have been number 1. He was up there too. But now that he's gone, to me, it's clearly Aho. And Collect Record says, no question, mine is also Aho, little turd. Tasha, the Sabatini's General's Pizza is so good. The chicken itself is some of the best, I've ever had on its own. I wish they sold it separately. Wait, where is the Sabatino's? Where's Sabatino's? Is it the one in Maplewood? I'm going to have to go back and write all these down. Maybe I'll do a summer pizza series. Sherry, these last 3 games have been brutal. Would like to end the regular season with 2 wins. I would too. At this point, I would probably settle just for winning one of them. Anything to avoid a 5-game losing streak going into the playoffs. Going into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak would just be disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Cannot happen. Just win one of them. Tosh, the power play has been kind of brutal without Jack. I could have sworn I saw a stat the other day. I'm going to have to double check this. I could have sworn I saw a stat the other day that the percentage was higher without Jack. Cody Skills, they counter us if we don't use our speed right. Zach says Jarvis is my most hated. Devil Heaven 77, happy Tuesday, Devils fans. Ace, how's things, Rubberneck? Just waiting to watch this, meaningless hockey game. Hopefully something to cheer about. Jake Allen and net, as someone pointed out earlier. It could potentially be Jake Allen's last start as a New Jersey Devil. Yeah, it could be. If he's not brought back next season, it could be his last start. And like I said, if he starts in the playoffs, then something went terribly awry. Devil Guy 2003 says, Brat back on the board tonight. Would love to see it. Bratter's gone a little cold. A lot of people were, I don't want to say somewhat delusional, but with like 8 games left, I think he basically, or 10 games maybe, he needed to average like 2 points a game, and people were like, Jesper Bratt's going to hit 100. I was like, dude, for him to hit 100 at that point would have been crazy. Yeah, and he's stuck at 88. Still a very good season. Would like to see him get to 90. I mean, my God, come on, Bratter. Get 2 more points. And I thought for sure he'd hit the 70 assist mark. He's at 67. 21 goals, 67 assists for 88 points. A very solid season for Bratter. Sherry says, hopefully all the Devils fans in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Southern Virginia area show up and get loud. For those of you that don't know, the Hurricanes are trying to block ticket sales to people, I believe, living outside of those areas. It obviously has so many workarounds, it's not even funny. But I'm sure it maybe discouraged some people. But obviously this is not a deterrent whatsoever if you're crafty with certain things. And the easiest one being just purchasing from secondary marketplaces, obviously. They're not going to be enforcing this nonsense. It's pretty funny that the Canes think that's going to do something for them. But who knows? Maybe if it even discourages some people, I guess that's a win for them. They don't want to get invaded by visiting teams. And I don't think the Devils fans would invade them in droves like that anyway. But I guess against other teams, it potentially could happen. And I guess they're trying to safeguard against that and protect that home ice advantage. But I do think it is funny that they do that. Some other teams do it as well. The Lone Wolf says Natchez number 2. Yeah, Natchez is gone now, but he probably was my number 1 before he got traded, and now it's definitely Aho. Noah William Miller, sucks we're facing Taylor Hall. Sucks we didn't get Taylor Hall. That was a guy that I said, I'm not one of these people that salivates over every rumor of a former player reunion, but that was one I thought would have been an ideal low risk, high reward type move. And at the time I even said, I think it was I don't know if it was in January or February. He was traded well before the deadline, but they were, talking about what they thought the potential package or, what the assets would be that you would need to send to get Taylor Hall. And at that point, I was like, that's a great low risk, high reward move for the Devils to kind of push someone out of the bottom 6. And when you look at it now, you're like, Taylor Hall would easily be a top 6 player on this team right now. Let's be realistic. And that makes me even more mad that we didn't get him, because he could have been a top 6 guy brought in for very little. But, Devils can't have nice things. Yeah, it's in Maplewood. Zupa Maki, I can't stop shitting on my Rags friends. Are they in hiding? Chris the Ranger fan texted me the other day. He's depressed, but I think he was trying to reverse jinx it all season long, or at least for the past several months. He was like, they're not making it, bro. Rangers are done. LJ, temp check. Are the Habs going to choke? They got to beat the Canes. They got to beat the Canes, Blue Jackets. Wait, what? They got to beat the Canes. Oh, okay. They got to beat the Canes. Blue Jackets got to beat Flyers, and Isles plus Habs lose. Well, who would take their spot in that scenario? Oh, shit. So, yeah, the Jackets have 2 games left. Yeah, the Canadians feasting on overtime loser points. They're 39, 31, and 11. Yeah, so they're 39 and 42, essentially. That loser point is doing exactly what the league wants. keeping teams relevant. And the Jackets have 9 overtime losses. Yeah, so what has to happen? Let me just see something else. Jackets play the Flyers tonight. Wait, where did the Canes come into this? So Blue Jackets Flyers is tonight. Huh. It's an interesting push to the finish here. Zach says he's got 90 in the bag. What a kiss of death, Zach. He's got 90 in the bag. He needs 2 points in the next 2 games. He needs a point a game. We haven't scored a goal in 114 minutes, bro. 114 minutes of no goals. Tasha says Brat and Timo, man, kind of cooled off. The entire offense cooled off. Oh, shit, it's getting late. 6:17. Devil having 77. Our power play looks better without Jack. More looks, more puck movement, not just between Jack and Bratter. Jeff says can't spell Canes without VPN. So they actually don't do it by VPN, Jeff. They do it by, I believe, like the billing address. But I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret because I had to get around, if you're so interested, because I had to circumnavigate this a while back. I'm pretty sure at least years ago, you could put whatever you wanted for the billing address, and it didn't matter on Ticketmaster. And so I remember I was at it was actually the Devils Preds game I was going to. I was outside trying to buy tickets, and it was blocking me. So I literally had to go into the settings. Like I just looked up a random street in Nashville, changed my billing address to that, and then voila, right in. I bet you it's still that way. You can make the billing address whatever you want. You're probably better off on the secondary markets anyway, though. But I'd have to look at the games. I haven't looked at the tickets there specifically. Tasha says, wait, that's ridiculous. And I recently saw something. The Canes have an awful opposing team locker room, and it's so bad, and they're supposed to redo it, but the Canes players are telling them off. Yeah, you want the visitor to be uncomfortable. I think there's several places I think that kind of have something like that. You hear crazy stories of what teams do to try to get an edge all the time. Shoots, Devils get through round 1, and it'll have everyone in shambles. Pretty sure PK Subban is the only analyst that believes in us. Yeah, PK's been the Devils' biggest fan forever now. And I know he definitely pissed off a lot of people when he picked the Devils. I think he officially picked them. Yeah, he picked them, I don't know, it was a few days ago, I think even. He picked the Devils, and people were trying to give him shit online for it. But PK's the man. He's going to rock with the Devils forever. Jason said Fitz was never going to make that move to get Hall. I don't know why. I mean, it just made so much sense in my opinion. I mean, Snow, did you want him? Daniel Walker, please just get 90 before the playoffs. It's embarrassing. I think we may have the least points even among the wild cards. Let's hope tonight is our turnaround. Well, it could end that way. We're not going to know if we're the low man on the totem pole. The second wild card spot right now is the Habs with 89. And they have 1 game left. So the most points they could get is 91. The most the Devils could have is 93. But who knows? We'll see. We may end up being the number 15 team out of 16. Devil Heaven says, where are all those ignorant Ranger fans talking about 94? Oh, they'll be around sooner than later. Jason, one thing I'll say about the Rangers, they know how to beat the Canes for some reason. They have our number. They have owned us for so damn long. It's frustrating. It's time to get redemption. It is time to get redemption. I hate them. I hate them with a passion, and I want to finally bounce them. And if there was ever a year to do it, it certainly seems like this could be the year. I mean, it seems like, that trading Natchez away may have messed up, the whatever you want to call it, chemistry or just whatever you want to call it for the season. And yeah, that whole Rantanen thing was bizarre. Just very bizarre. It may have jolted their season negatively, but we'll see. Because again, they have veterans, they have guys that have been there that know how to win, that want to win. So it's never going to be easy beating them, a Rod Brindamore team, but I'm hoping we can. Devil Heaven 77, Habs can be dangerous and hungry to play against round 1. I think Otto is going to be lethal too. Jay Snow, Demidov is 19, looks sick, but his teammate Gritsu couldn't help an offensively challenged team. Got it? Wait, what? Tasha, Jack is such a good player, as in he can create a great play out of nothing. That's true. Snow said, people don't give Jack enough credit for how easily Jack can bring the puck in and out of each zone. He just makes it look so easy. I believe he has or at some point during the season before he was injured, he had the most zone, I think the offensive zone entries in the league. He does just knife through a defense with his amazing skating and just the way he can move. He does cut into the zone real nice. Yeah, we obviously missed that. A lot of times you'll see our guys start bringing it in and then they'll do the pass backwards. I hate the whole pass backwards thing. That never really existed back in the day, and it's very prevalent now. Devil Heaven 77, Ace, what are good secondary markets for tickets? I think Tick Pick is probably my favorite. Jay Snow, every player who has the puck on their stick as much as Jack has a lot of turnovers. Also true. And the same applies to Luke, right? Luke plays a lot of minutes, carrying the puck a lot, and he's going to be towards, the top of the list, at least on the Devils, of turnovers. It's just the nature of the beast. Zach said Hall wanted nothing to do with the Devils. That could be true, and I could accept that. Easily. I could easily accept that. I just don't even know that we inquired, right? And it's maybe we did. I highly doubt it, though. And if that was the case, then I would be fine with that. We looked into it. He wasn't interested. Life goes on. But to not even be in the mix or the conversation is what I have a problem with. Mike, Jake Allen is in net tonight, and we will see Markey tomorrow for Fan Appreciation Day against Detroit back at the Rock. Zach says the pass back is awful. Yeah, I hate it. Tasha, is the game blacked out on ESPN or not? I don't know. I can't keep up with all these networks and the streaming and all the bullshit. Devil Heaven, Jack is a force, yes, but he also tries to do way too much. Just carry the puck. Hate the return pass back to D. Hate it. Samuel says, like Jack, but tries to do too much at times. I could see that being true at points. But again, he plays a lot of minutes, has the puck on his stick a lot, and sometimes you're going to get some plays where you're like, ooh, I don't know. Jay Snow, at the time, I wasn't a big fan of getting Taylor Hall. He looked shot. I was wrong. He would have been a huge help. I just don't think Fitz would have pulled the trigger. Yeah, I don't think so either. LJ, I'm glad you were addressing the backwards pass. I hate it with a passion. Luke loves it. I hate it. I remember when I first started seeing it, I'm like, why are they doing this? And now, it's for all teams in overtime, or in the regular season overtime anyway. It's like the go-to move. Oh, you can't get in the zone? Cool. Just turn around, pass it back. I don't like it at all, but it's not going anywhere. Oh, shit. We got a couple minutes left here. Metalander says almost MSG pregame. Yep. Troy Machine says StubHub, SeatGeek, Game Time, but Ticketmaster is always the cheapest. That's not always true, Troy Machine. Back in the day, that was usually the case, or at least more times than not. But now with season ticket holders getting discounts, and the ticket brokers and all of these things, a lot of times you got to check and compare, because a lot of times secondary markets are in fact cheaper than Ticketmaster now. The more you know. That is my lesson of the night, Troy. A lot of times secondary markets are in fact cheaper than Ticketmaster. You got to look at the event. Mike says, I want the 1-8 playoff format back. You and everybody else, Mike. This current format is complete nonsense. I talked about this on maybe a previous live or whatever. I can't remember. But Steve the Maniac sent me, I forget, one of the hockey media outlets posted something like, which playoff format do you like better, the current one or 1-8, the old format? And it was like overwhelming. It was so, I just bit my tongue. It was like 95% wanted the old format back. And then Steve the Maniac said, look how crazy this is. You can't get 95% of people to agree on anything. And it's true. But that's how overwhelming the hockey community wants the old format back. 95%. And there was a good amount of people that clicked on the poll. I forget the number, but it was a shitload of people. 95% wanted the old format back. Sherry said, Luke with the back pass always looks like he thinks he's faking them out. Lee Rodan, Dougie will back to the playoffs. Do you think it will have a positive impact? Absolutely it will. A veteran defenseman with a good shot and offensive awareness that could quarterback the power play coming back in place of a rookie. Absolutely. Dougie is going to be a massive addition for this team. And hopefully it translates into winning a series. John, NJDevils45, what's going on? Let's go Devils. Devil Heaven, I got screwed on a couple concerts with Vivid Seats. What a joke. Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about them. Tick Pick is my new go-to. Tasha says, did Wayne Gretzky get Botox or something? During the Ovi stuff, I thought he looked super old and his face looked stiff. Who knows? I'm not up on his... he is pretty old, though, guys. I mean, he's getting up there, the great one, but I don't know. He's got a lot of Hollywood-ish type people in his circle, including his wife, so maybe he did. I don't know. Troy says, ticket master fees are always less than third party, usually 5 to 10. Troy, what I'm telling you is, Troy, this is not my opinion. This is a fact. When you look at the all-in price, I'm talking all-in after the fees, for many games and events, you could go on Ticketmaster and click through and see what the final real price is for the ticket, and then you could go on a third-party site, the secondary market, right, like a Tick Pick, and when you go through the same process, the ticket will be cheaper. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. I'm not saying every time, but there's lots of scenarios where that is the case. Ticketmaster, for the most part, has a there's like a floor price for a lot of tickets that they won't let you go below. That does not exist on secondary markets. People are cutting to move. Devil Dog, hey, Ace sent 3 articles to your Gmail, Addy, about the Stevens tampering case and how it ended. Okay, I'm kind of buried in my emails, but thank you. I'll definitely check that out. I definitely want to read about that. Yeah, Dougie, he had the clapper. Now he has more of a crazy snapper wrist shot. Sherry says, Vivid sucks. Beware and steer clear of them. Yeah, I've heard some bad stories. I'm on the Tick Pick train now. Tick Pick shows the price all in. There is no fees. Again, it's all the fees and all the stuff. It's all semantics. But Tick Pick just rolls it all in. Very easy to navigate. All right, that's it, guys. We're about to do the pregame on TV here. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see a big win. I hope we see something interesting. I'll be back after the game with the post-game live, and hopefully there's something to be happy about. But either way, these are meaningless games, right? So just going through the motions like the team. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.